Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you, Panda, for being with us tonight. It's a pleasure to have you in PAF, giving your experience to us. Thank you, Tite Mendoza, Master Coach FIH and trainer from the FIH Academy, for helping us to organize all these webinars to keep our people with the latest information and giving them the opportunity to grow every day. Chiche.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Panda, for running this webinar for us.
Thank you.
This would be really a very good information and relevant information for the Pan-American hockey, this is part of our system of coaching. And I said Panda is an FIH educator as well, with a lot of experience in coaching goalkeeping. Yeah. He actually is running seminars and conferences and many information about goalkeeping for the FIH. And now we have the opportunity to have Panda here in the Pan-American continent. Thank you, Panda, for stay here, and all for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Firstly, can I apologize to those that I can't speak in Spanish, pero no hablo mucho español porque no con las personas españoles. Cuando en España hablo por 5 días. Okay. So, but tonight is in English, and one day I hope I can join one of your Spanish sessions as well. When Chiche rings you up, it's always an honor, and I'm very pleased to say that Chiche is a friend, and I had no hesitation at all in coming online tonight. So thank you very much, Chiche and Laura, for the introductions and the invite. Okay, Alex, I'm going to go to my slides pretty much straight away, but halfway through, I'm going to stop and reflect on the first part of the presentation, and then we'll carry on, and at the end there should be some time for some questions and some discussion. Okay, if that's okay. If you've got your mobile phone with you or a device that can use menti.com, I don't know if anyone's used it before, but I'd like to try and use it tonight. I'm new to Blue Jeans, and I've used Menti a couple of times, and another great educator, Laura De Colle, introduced me to Menti, so I thought I'd like to try that tonight, and Laura's with us as well, so that's fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my slides straight away. That's all right. Share my screen. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's go to share my screen. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Yeah. Okay. So tonight, I had a choice of a topic, and I thought within goalkeeping, one of the big questions is what planet do goalkeepers come from, and the second part is why are they that different, and really after the end of the session tonight, I want us to look at how we introduce goalkeepers to the game, and secondly, how they blend and move into our training sessions, because I think this is one of the big things that a lot of people forget. But first of all, happy Star Wars Day. It's May the 4th, so may the 4th be with you. And I chose the topic before I knew the date, so there's a bit of a coincidence in there. So happy Star Wars Day. A little bit about me. Previous to tonight, too many missions to list. I've been involved since I stopped playing in 1992. I had to stop because of a knee injury, and I was playing in the National League, but I just started coaching myself, and I was very lucky that one of the top goalkeepers who was the Great Britain goalkeeper coach up to very recently, was a good friend and my mentor. And I got into coaching goalkeepers straight away. I was a goalkeeper, and I worked with the junior internationals right from the start, really. And I think that's where my forte is where with young goalkeepers. And a lot of the goalkeepers who have come through, especially the England and Great Britain, have worked with me at some point in their careers. And there's a lot of goalkeepers out there now around the world who have worked with me. I've worked primarily in the UK, but I did do a short spell in the USA for a little while before the Athens Olympics. And Amy Tran, who was a top American goalkeeper, I brought her to the UK to play in our leagues after the Athens Olympics. And I think that really benefited her because she actually played in a competitive league system. And the club that she played for actually were the UK champions that year. And I think if you talk to Amy, then that was a big turning point for her. Currently, I'm an FIH educator, and I'm also a European Hockey Federation mentor and educator. And that's important to me, and it's probably where I do most of my work now in Europe. I don't work with the England setup now. I did a long spell with them, but I'm obviously still around in this country, but a majority of my work is in Europe. I'm head of hockey at a very large school in England where we have 1,200 children from 11 to 18. And then I'm just working now with the kids that are a lot younger. So I don't just work with goalkeepers. I have coached teams in the National League, but my forte is goalkeepers. I work at Loughborough University, where I know both Laura and Chiche have been, and I work on the performance program, and they are a Premier League team in this country. And then one of my great loves is Grammarians Hockey Club in Gibraltar, and that's a good example of members coming on to European Federation courses, and they ask me to go and coach, and I go out there. Unfortunately, in COVID, I haven't been able to, but I usually take them to the European Club Championships as a coach, and I have a lot of good friends there. That's where I get to practice some of my Spanish. It's more about understanding them. The future, well, I don't plan too far ahead. I'll check my phone and my emails after this session and see where we go. Okay. So by the end of tonight, by the end of this journey, I think you will have identified the core skills and the attributes of a goalkeeper in my world, outlined the basic principles and fundamentals of goalkeeping, discussed and explored practice sessions to enhance the goalkeepers in the team, and confirmed goalkeepers do exist. But do they? Do goalkeepers exist? And that's going to be the mystery. What I'd like you to do now, I'd like everybody to go to chat and write no more than 10 words about yourself. This is for me to look at later, just to get a feel about the type of coaches that we've got in the room. So you've got 30 seconds, and I'm going to be very strict before I move on. So I'll give you 30 seconds just to put a few words about yourselves. And then we'll have a look at that later. I'm not going to look at them now. This is just to give a little bit of an icebreaker, and it may help everybody else as well. Okay. Got another 15 seconds. Okay, let's leave those there, and you can fill them in a little bit more as long as you listen in. Now what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to go to menti.com. Let's see if this will work, and there's a code there if you want to use that. Well, you can use that code. Okay, so go to Menti, and I'm just going to put up can everybody see the Menti poster. Can you see that? Someone just say yes or no. I put the
Not
Menti.
now.
No?
No,
We see a blue screen. Now, yeah.
Okay.
no,
Can you see it now?
not now.
No. Okay.
No.
It might be I'm not. This is the first time.
There.
There. We can see it now.
Can you? Now?
Blue. No,
No. Okay. We'll come back to that in a
there.
minute. Yeah.
There.
Okay. We'll come back to that. It's not urgent. It's something that I was just going to ask you. I want you to write on your pad 3 words to describe a goalkeeper, and we'll come back to this in a little while. I don't need it now. It's just something I wanted to get up at some point, but it's the first time I've used it, and maybe it doesn't work so easily for me on this one. But this is really important now. I'm going to show a video, and we're going to see if we're ready for the session. But there's a message towards goalkeepers in this video. Okay, so here we go. This is an away. The team in white make. How many teams in the past is the team in white make? It's 13. You see the king bear. Okay. Did you see the moonwalking bear? Did anybody see the moonwalking bear? Did you see that?
No. No.
No?
No.
No. Okay. Let's watch it again. Let's see the rest of it. See it now?
Freaking no.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Right. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come out of my screen, and I'm going to talk. Let's have a little chat. Why did I show that video? Does anybody want to give me an answer? Put your hand up or let me know. Why did I show that video when we're talking about goalkeepers?
Hi, good night, everyone.
Hi.
I think you showed that to realize how sometimes when it comes to training, you kind of goalkeepers get lost in all that's going on.
Okay.
We were focusing on how much the team was passing, but sometimes the goalies get left in the goal bars. Just
Yeah, that I don't hear that one very often, but I think that's a really good point. That's sometimes we forget about our goalies, or we don't see them. They go straight to the goal. They don't come into a group. Okay. Any other reasons why I might have shown that video?
I thought be aware of the impossible.
Be aware of the impossible. What do you mean by that? That's a great phrase.
I wasn't expecting a bear, and there was a bear.
Right. Okay. What were you focusing on?
The balls.
The ball. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Anything else? Anyone else want to comment? Okay. Well, the reason I showed the video was that put yourself if you were a goalkeeper, and I'm not sure how many of you in there here tonight are goalkeepers, but when a goalkeeper looks out from the goal, whether they're a 10-year-old, 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, there's 21 other players in front of them. Yeah? And in the circle, quite often there'll be 16 players, 15 players, and I call that the traffic. And a goalkeeper is looking for the ball. Yeah, that's the key point, the key role of a goalkeeper. But they're having to look through other things. They're looking at people moving with the ball, people moving off the ball. They're looking at their own team marking players or creating zones in front of them. And I think one of the things that we have to instill and understand is that it's a very complex situation. Okay? Now, it's a complex situation for our players as well. And what I wanted then in your coaching, I want us to create that focus. I want us to make sure that we are aware of the surroundings, the environment, not just about the goalkeeper, but the whole team. And imagine when you're looking into the pitch, you're looking at your games. Do you watch the ball or do you watch the players off the ball? And I talk to a lot of coaches. And some of the top coaches don't watch the ball. They watch what's going to happen next. They're looking at something else. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to show that video. It makes us think, and it's made us think very early in this session. Okay, I'm going to go back to my screen. Okay, cool.
This is an aware.
Okay, there we are. This is Laura. We all know Laura. Laura is a goalkeeper. I want you to remember that picture. That is what a goalkeeper looks like. They look different. They wear lovely, bright coloured kit. They wear helmets, gloves, sticks. And these are the people that we're going to talk about tonight. Okay. This is a picture. This picture is actually got some pictures that Laura Del Colle and I worked on with the FAH. And there's a theme running through these pictures. Okay. There's a main theme running through these pictures. If you look at those pictures, you've got goalkeepers, you've got some outfield players in there working with them, you've got some top goalies. So if you look at the middle, you've got Black from the Netherlands with a young goalie, you've got Laura with a young goalie, you've got George Pinner, who I worked with from the age of 12, who's the current GB goalie, with lots of youngsters. Matty Hinch, the GB goalie, with a group of young goalies. And you've got Amy Tran in there. In that band, you've got a lot of Olympians. But when you look around, you've got groups of goalkeepers kicking a tennis ball, a football over a tennis net, using ladders, working with other players. You've got smiles on their faces. And on the left-hand side, where number 15 and number 73 are, we've got a game of goalie soccer or goalie football. Okay? But the big thing in this video is that in this picture, it's all about enjoyment. And if you talk to the goalkeepers across the middle, and when I asked George Pinner to come and work on this session, he said, I'm not going to coach. I'm going to put my kit on and I'm going to play. And for 3 hours in August in the UK, he stood in there with his kit like the other goalies and played. And I think that's one of the things that made him very much get the message over that he's part of that group, that tribe, that collection of people. And they are different. But throughout the discussion tonight, we're going to look at how different are they, if at all. Okay, so big question here. Can you just call out if you're a goalkeeper coach? No goalkeeper coaches in the room. Okay, this is where I might get a little bit controversial. As I said at the very beginning, I started out as a goalkeeper coach. I used to practice with goalkeepers. I worked with young goalkeepers. I would be given goalkeepers to work with. I would go and work with teams. And then they'd say, right, we've got a goalkeeper coach tonight. And I'd go and work in a corner. And I did that for many, many years. And it was a long time that suddenly it took me to realize that I'm a hockey coach. Okay? I'm not just the goalkeeper coach. I'm a hockey coach. I've played in good teams. I've played in not so good teams. I've played in teams with coaches, and I understand the game. And I'm a big believer that was what helped me be a better goalkeeper, because I understood the game. And I was very much part of the whole thing. The 11v11 game that we played, and when we played indoors, the smaller numbers. So what I'm trying to get over here is that, yes, we have people who just work with goalkeepers, but I would rather that we look at ourselves as coaches. And if we look at ourselves as coaches and we join that coaching team for your club, your country, your university, it means we can add more value. And so the question I'm asking, do goalkeepers coaches really exist anymore? Because I think that there's a place, we have to coach the skills, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but we also have to get the goalkeepers integrating with the players, in my view. They have to communicate, even at very young ages. They have to understand what the defenders in front of them are doing. They have to understand what attackers are doing so that they can counter that position as well. And if you talk to any goalkeeper who wants to play on pitch, they'll always want to be a forward.
No vas a mirarla.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. So, how do we recognize goalkeepers? And what I'm going to do now, we're going to look at how do we almost pick our goalkeepers? How do we find out what a goalkeeper looks like? How do we recognize them? Here's a picture of a goalkeeper, another one called Laura, and she is at was at Loughborough University. She now plays for one of the top club teams in the UK, in England. This is Brooke. Brooke is another goalkeeper, the same at Loughborough when they were both students. They were number 1 and number 2. A little bit difference in age, but very young. I think Brooke on the right was about 20 and Laura was about 21. What do you notice about those two goalkeepers? Does anybody want to say what they notice? Just say what you see. What do you notice, anybody?
Different stances.
Different stances. In what way?
I don't know whether the one goalkeeper is maybe just taller than the other. I don't know.
Yeah. Which one's taller?
The girl in black on the right.
Yeah, she is. She's about 6'1". Okay. Yeah, she's taller. Yeah. Does anyone notice anything else that's different about the goalies that you might look at them and say?
Their hand and stick positions are different.
The handwork, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the hands.
The handwork, how they open themselves, right? For
And
the
what do you
goalie,
think?
you can be a taller goalie, but you're not exactly make yourself bigger.
Okay.
So the girl
okay,
in the
that's a
red
good-
yeah.
Yeah.
The girl in the red, she makes herself bigger, even though
Okay.
she's sitting a little bit down, right, on the side, but a little bit back.
Yeah,
but
she's
making
not
herself bigger.
Not as tall. Yeah, she's not as tall. Okay. Anyone else? What about the position of the hands, the style of the hands? How different are they? Does that make an impact? Does that make a difference? Anyone want to comment on that?
Especially on the glove hand, the keeper on the left, Hoti has her glove pointing straight forward compared to the red, where she has her hand in a better position.
Okay, you say a better position. Okay, good, interesting. So you're a selector now, right? Both of those goalkeepers played junior under 21 internationals. Okay, both of them are under 18 goalkeepers. Both of them play in the Premier League. The reason I'm asking this question, how do we recognize goalkeepers? Don't just look at the goalkeeper. Understand where they come from. Understand their physiology and why their stance or their movements might be different. And the reason I say that is that even when you're looking at very young goalies, and that's really what this is designed to look at, they come from other sports. So the goalkeeper in red, Laura, is left-handed. She was a sports scholar for tennis at a top school. Brooke on the right in black was a badminton player, okay, and she was a national player at junior level as well, and she's right-handed. So when we look at both of these, their foot position, their basic stance is very similar, but just because the nature of their hands look different, and I don't know who said it, but said the left hand and the red look better. Okay, it's about the comfort as well, and it's the effectiveness. So just because someone looks better, and I'm not downgrading what you said, but they look better, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by that. And if I was to analyse the strengths of these goalkeepers with a ball above the waist, Laura in red is very proactive with her left hand and manipulates the ball well. Brooke is fantastic with her stick. Okay, so things like penalty corners, a big difference, a little bit difference in height. So I just wanted to emphasise there, when you're looking at goalkeepers for the first time, whether you're selecting for a club, a region, a university, or a team, find out a little bit more. But let them do the do, what I call do the do. Let them play. Let them engage. Let them start to do something and then make your call. But just because a goalkeeper looks a little bit different, it could be how they kick. It could be how they play on the ground. This is probably the most simple positional photographs I could say. So again, the hands are always the one, and that's one of the reasons I show these pictures. That's good. Thank you very much. Okay.
Panda?
Yeah. Yes.
This is Pablo. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Sometimes I help with the technical support when we do these webinars in the Pan Federation. Just one thing, there's a few messages on the chat if you want to have a look on the top right of your computer.
Yeah, let me...
There's sometimes they live. I would like to add one more thing, though, that we always said with my father, with Chiche, he mentions this all the time. You asked before if there were goalkeeper coaches, right?
Yeah.
And you said, no, they're coaches. Well, I have to say it the other way around as well. Sometimes the field coach, he feels, I'm the field coach. I don't have to give any instruction to the goalkeeper in the whole training session. And I think that is wrong, because as you said, the goalkeeper is...
Hold on a sec. We're coming on to that in a moment.
Oh, okay. Sorry to jump on that. Okay.
Sorry, no, that's okay. That's the purpose of this, of the seminar, especially the second part. But yeah, can you park that question and I'll come back.
We'll leave it for later, no problem.
That's fantastic. I can't see the chat actually. I can't get into it when I'm sharing the screen, so I don't know why.
Okay, I just well, yeah.
But if someone's keeping an eye out, that's fantastic.
Okay, I'll let you know if I can add something.
No, that's brilliant. But yeah, thank you for that, because Pablo, it's exactly why we're going through this process, and I'm going to change your mindsets. That's my whole task tonight. So that's a great point. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is the classic, isn't it? You've got the goalkeeper who's saying, pick me, pick me, pick me. And you've got to be very clear on how you're going to pick that goalkeeper. But the most important thing is, once we pick those goalkeepers, we've got to make sure that we retain them. We've got to keep those goalies. The biggest drop-off with youngsters is when they meet, probably in my country, is around 15, I reckon, when they start to get introduced to other things. And the desire is always to be the number one. And I want us to just talk about that in a moment. But this desire for being picked, there's 1 in 11. It's very different to an outfield player because we're only picking one player. So that's something why our coaching, and going back to the point just made, our coaching of the goalkeepers is so important. Okay, I'm just going to run through some pictures now, and I could have shown lots of videos and we'd been here all night, but I'm going to show what I believe are the core skills. I believe the ready position is a skill. This is the base that majority of our movements start from. And we've already just established that there are more than one way to stand, and then we've talked about the depth at which we want to understand that. Basic kicking. When we're kicking, we're looking at our footwork is key, and as our head position in relation to the ball. But the hands, and in the first picture, if I go back to this, the body between the hands, I call this framing the ball. So if you were to put a camera on the goalkeeper's chest, it would show what is in between the hands. And if we can get the ball in between the hands, we can follow the ball anywhere on that pitch. And it's a really simple thing, but I see too many goalies with their hands very low. If they're high, not necessarily high, but higher, we start to get real focus. So the hands here are acting as a balance as well, and there's a focus on the ball. So that's the kicking. This is a bit more of a lunge kick or kick clear. So, and this is Brooke reaching the corners of the goal. Okay, so this could be a save with a lunge, or if the ball is in the right place, we can clear the ball in one movement. Okay, again, we're trying to get our head over that ball and kicking through the ball with our weight. Okay, very important. This is the forgotten skill. I think this is a forgotten skill in the world. Making saves with the leg guards, making saves with the pads on the left and on the right. Okay, it's the largest piece of our equipment, and I think it's a piece of equipment that we've stopped using. And that's not just in the air, that's also lower down and also on the ground. It's a fantastic barrier. And again, we're looking at getting that balance, our head towards the ball, which ultimately takes us into a new position. Okay. The other thing as well, the relationship between the gloves and the pads is important, because in this picture it's not quite visible there, but you can make the pad almost twice the size by working the glove with the pads, and it can create, quite a big save area. This is Brooke using her stick work. So it's again as a big stick. I use a phrase here and with the stick that we make our saves in the air with our gloves, with our feet. Okay, the footwork is the fundamental that actually gets us into those positions. If we end up diving, which remember in these skills are for the very young goalies, if we end up diving, it's our footwork that gets us off the ground. It's our, and here again, we're looking at our eyes and in relation to the ball, and the footwork is paramount. Again, this is a glove save on the right. So we've got stick saves and glove saves in the air. And these are some of the real basics. And then this is playing on the ground. This takes many forms, many formats, and it's something that we have to teach them eventually. What you'll find is that young goalkeepers will go to ground naturally, and some we have to teach and encourage to play on the ground. But the majority of them will go naturally, and then we have to really teach the right shapes. So for me, they're the fundamentals. They're the really basic core elements of goalkeeping. The core attributes. Now, what do I mean by attributes? We've talked about the skills. These are the elements of goalkeepers that they need to be able to do the skills. And rather than use words, I've got some pictures and I'll just talk through these. The first one is to be able to communicate. Goalkeepers must be able to communicate. They must be able to communicate with their teammates. Okay? They must be able to communicate with their coaches. People say to me, it's one of the biggest questions I get asked, how do I teach goalkeepers to communicate? Well, you've got to put them in situations when they have to communicate, basically. In matches, how do you get a defender to communicate? How do you get a forward to communicate? You have to put them in situations where they have to communicate, where they have to give instruction. You know, how many of you have goalkeepers who receive the ball? I like to see goalkeepers sometimes involved in outlets, and we're seeing it even more, quite a lot in the Spanish game. We're seeing German goalkeepers doing it a little bit more. And I can remember being in Barcelona in about 1993, talking to coaches then about goalkeepers being involved in outlets. And it's taken a little while to get to that stage. But it's fundamental. Communication is fundamental. Verbal, it could be signaling, whatever it needs to be. Okay, goalkeepers have to be able to move. The days have gone when it's the biggest person goes in goal because they fill the goal. A goalkeeper must be able to move. They have to be able to move in different ways. They have to be flexible. They have to have good balance. And they have to have good agility. Okay? You can't play in goal unless you've got all of those. If you want to play at the highest level, they're a must and you have to work on them. But in this situation, I think it's the young goalkeepers. We can spot that even before they start to put their kit on. And it could be where they've come from. I've worked with people who do ballet. They do martial arts. They do dancing. They're athletes. Okay? Those are the attributes that they need to be able to do those sports at a very young age are a big part of what we can use in our own. Okay, that's not someone in England with an umbrella. That's actually someone working hard. So you've got to have a work ethic. You've got to be able to work on your skills. You've got to be able to work on your attributes. Okay. You've got to be strong. You've got to be strong physically, and you've got to be strong of mind. Now, I'm not expecting a 10-year-old goalkeeper to be super strong, but what I am expecting is that over time, that person will develop physically, and we have to be there to support that, especially through things like puberty. As they get stronger, we have to recognize that the body will change, but strength and robustness, I don't know if that's a word that many of you use, but in order to train, you have to be robust. And that's training on the pitch, training in the gym, with your body weight training, etc. But the mind is just as important, and we have to help train that. And coaches have a responsibility in that, in the way we coach and what we coach. Goalkeepers have to be organised. There's nothing worse than a young goalkeeper forgetting their equipment. That's the simplest thing. But they have to be on time. They have to be there ready to warm up. They have to make sure they've got the right equipment. Okay? The equipment works. The equipment is safe. It's got, there's nothing, no straps broken, and that's really frustrating. But they've got to be organised. They've got to have a target. They've got to have a set of goals. So I would expect young goalkeepers to have some aspiration. They've got to be looking at the next year group up. I still want to be the first choice goalkeeper. I want to be in the regional team. I want to be in the top team, whatever it looks like. They've also got to be warriors. Okay. We already saw a picture earlier of Laura and in bright coloured kit, in equipment that's different. You look different. You stand out. But actually, when you've got that circle is full of players, whether you're in a 7-a-side game or 11-a-side game, the goalkeeper has to be a warrior. Their job is to keep that ball out of the net in various ways. But it's also to be leading in that team. And it's probably the leadership element that is a huge thing that I look for in my goalkeepers. They've got to be supportive of each other. Now, you know, if you're going to progress in the game, you're going to end up as one of two, maybe one of three goalkeepers. You've got to support each other. It's unusual. You've got to support the person you're competing with. Encouragement, okay? But also the outfield players. So going back to the previous point, part of this presentation is starting to look at how the coach can work with the goalkeepers in relation to the other players, okay? And that's huge. They've got to be calm in the heat of the battle, in the heat of the game. They've got to be calm. They've got to be in control of their situation. The most unusual thing for goalkeepers is that we're asking somebody to stop the ball going in the net, but they can't catch it. In soccer or in football, you catch the ball, you stop the game. In ice hockey, you catch it, okay? Stops the play. In hockey, the ball is always live. So we're asking someone to stop the ball and be dynamic at the same time. Really unusual. You're going to have to be a superhero, and you're going to have to get used to it. You know, if you make 10 saves, 11 saves in a game and you win 1-0, you're going to get a lot of people say, well done. That was brilliant. Fantastic. And that would be in that moment. The next game, you might make one mistake and lose 1-0. But you've got to get used to some adulation, especially young ones, when you've got parents and pupils watching or teammates watching, and you do well. And sometimes our young players struggle with that, and they struggle with it, and especially goalkeepers who stand out and are different. But you know, it's something that we can help with. You've got to have some fun, and you know, when you're training, you've got to have some fun. You've got to be able to laugh off the silly moments and you know, there's got to be some downtime in that training as well. I'm not asking you to be a clown, but you got to have some fun in there as well. You've got to be able to present, and this is becoming even bigger now. And going back to the previous point that Pablo made, I like my goalies to be able to stand up at team talks and talk about zonal defense, man-to-man marking in the circle. I expect them to talk about penalty corners. Okay? But likewise, I would expect an outfield player to be talking around what they believe they want their goalkeeper to do. And I've got a couple of videos in the second half that actually talks about that a little bit more. There's an awful lot going on, and the goalkeeper's got to be clear-minded. It's got to have a working mind, and they've got to be able to assimilate a lot of information. We've already talked about being in the goal and in the circle with lots going on in front of us, but we're looking at, are we making a save? Am I kicking to space? Can I pass the ball? One of the things I like, and I use a term, I call it goalinho, and I don't know if there's anyone in here from Brazil, but I like my goalies to be able to kick the ball with every single part of their foot, to make a save with every single part of their pad, to make a save or with every part of their glove, or to play the ball away. You know, when I played, you used to have to catch the ball, and then it dropped, and then you kicked it. Now we can play it away with the side or the back of the hand, etc., etc. But there's so much going on. There's so much information that we have to assimilate. And finally, we have to be completely switched on all the time. The ball can go from one end of the pitch to the other with a 70-meter aerial or a big hit. We can end up with situations transforming in a matter of seconds. And so when I talked earlier about framing the ball and keeping this focus, it's a good way of getting a focus. You frame the play, frame the ball. Okay, so just looking at all of those pictures, who else needs all that you're involved with as coaches? Who else needs all that? Anyone like to share? Yeah. Who else needs a lot of those attributes? Please say it. Just say it. Just say it.
Well, actually, I think all players need those attributes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just the goalkeeper. What I was looking for though, Panda, I haven't seen anything on stick. Use of the stick for the goalkeeper.
Use of the stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that in the basic skills, stick work. I know I picked a skill in the air. Yeah, goalkeeper needs to be able to use their stick. And that's an every part of the equipment. And we see more goalkeepers hitting the ball, slapping the ball, clearing the ball, protecting the ball. Yeah, the stick is a save tool. I would put that in there. And I think if one of those pictures I showed earlier was a stick save, and I should have emphasized that. So yeah, the stick is really important. Okay, chest protector. But when we're looking at the kids, you know, I'm not going to encourage them with chest saves at the moment. Okay, and making arm saves. The basic skills, I think I said, were for the very young ones. But we need everything that is safe, we can use. But yeah, all of those, your players need those, a majority of those attributes, but maybe in a slightly different way. So when I said at the very beginning, are goalkeepers that different? In this respect, no. A lot of the attributes with their teammates and the people that you work with, they have to have the same attributes. Slightly different skill base, well, a lot different in a lot of ways. The skill base is very different, but the attributes are very similar. So you as coaches are a long way down the line of understanding your goalkeepers. Okay. Do we need time travel? You know, I've just put a little chart in there. I just dragged it off the net, and it's something, you know, when you're working with your goalkeepers, and you're working with your players as well, but when you're working with your goalkeepers, they need to develop at a certain pace. A lot of goalkeepers want to be a lot better than they are straight away, and actually getting them to concentrate on the right skill, the right attribute at the right time is very, very difficult. You know, with YouTube, with live TV, hockey on TV, we see them. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do that. Hold on. Can you kick a ball? Can you stop a ball? Can you save a ball with your hands? You know, and quite often it's what I call the YouTube type saves that they want to make, but we need to give them those basic skills. So one of the things that I use a phrase, I call it development dial-in, dial-up, whatever you want to call it. When we're running our practices, and this applies, and your coaches, okay? So whether you're working with outfield players or goalkeepers, you need to dial up. So if we start at 0 could be the basic stance. It could be that we're going to do kicking with footwork first. I'm not going to teach them to dive yet. Dive might be number 9. If I go to 9 too early, I've got to come all the way back. So I would rather the goalkeeper worked incrementally. So if we go back to the timeline, this could be your plan for 12 months for your young goalkeepers. It could be we do footwork, kicking, and then we look at hand saves. We look at lunging. We look at playing on the ground around milestone 6. Okay. Throughout all of this, they're playing little matches. We're starting to see them make decisions. You know, I wouldn't necessarily have a session just on decision making, but I'd look at opportunities to build them in. And a lot of the stuff I do at the very beginning, they don't wear equipment. Mini footballs. Can they control a mini football? And I do something, I call it Mickey Mouse, where they have their kickers on, they have their gloves and their stick, and a bit like Mickey Mouse with big hands and big feet. And they're using mini footballs, not hockey balls, mini footballs, totally safe. Okay? Then we gradually add the equipment. And I think you need milestones. You need timeline. You need to share that with the youngsters early on. And gradually you'll see things that they'll do. And then you can start dialing in and dialing up. You know, you can actually change. And I do this with my practices as well. You know, if I'm doing something new, I won't make it too complex too early. And the big mistake a lot of people make is that we actually make it too complex too early. And I would say that's where, going back to Pablo's point, the coaches feel they cannot work with their goalkeepers. It's almost as if they're scared with the goalkeeper. They bring a guru in to work with the goalie. And actually, a lot of the things that you can do, you can learn very quickly. There are an awful lot of goalkeepers out there, and I think Laura will say this, agree with this as well, that are coaching teams. We watch a lot of hockey by being in goal. We see the whole play. Okay? How many outfield players end up coaching goalkeepers as well? That could be one of your challenges for the next year, is to be more familiar with working with goalkeepers. That will help you bring them into your team. Okay, this is a picture of Laura again. Wow, she's really popular in my slides. So this is me and Laura working together in England about 4 years ago. And you have so many coaching and practice opportunities. And often as coaches, you're left on a pitch on your own with a team which includes a goalkeeper. So work with them. And here are some of the opportunities that you have throughout a season. Every time you warm up for training sessions or matches, you can give the goalkeepers objectives. The traditional one-on-one sessions, okay? The small groups of goalkeepers. This is a small group of goalkeepers, and I think in this, we were working on them clearing and finding space. In this example, it may have been some lunging, but we're trying to keep the ball moving. When you run small unit play in your training sessions, use your goalkeepers, give them an objective. Working down the baseline is always a classic. Does the goalkeeper stay? Does the goalkeeper go? What is the impact of the defender? Okay, but engage with your goalkeepers, bring them into that play. Small-sided games. A small-sided game is anything below 11 aside in my book. Okay, and set pieces, penalty corners, long corners. Okay, anything like that. Video meetings, something like this. We could spend hours looking at goalkeeper video, and we're going to look at some in a minute. And these are opportunities. And online sessions, any online sessions. We've learned something in COVID that we don't always have to be on a pitch. At my school, I'm going to run sessions midweek for half an hour to set up training maybe on a Monday night we'll have a discussion about Tuesday and Thursday and Friday's training, and maybe just see how, maybe review the weekend, and then we'll get together at some point during that week. But I've just listed 7, 8 opportunities there, 8 opportunities that you have to coach and practice with goalkeepers that you can't hide. So going back to Pablo's point, Pablo, does that answer your question a little bit? That you've got to learn how to work with goalkeepers.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, sometimes, typical thing in you, at least in my experience with some of the coaches in our club, the typical warm up, ball possession game with the field players, and the goalkeeper is waiting on the goal. 2 more minutes, In 2 minutes, we're here. 3 minutes, 5 minutes, wait 5 minutes, do some stretching. We're going to be there with you. And we ignore the goalkeeper. And it's not good in everything aspect that you mentioned. And also, it doesn't help the goalkeeper to be integrated socially with the team.
No. I was, where are you coaching now, Pablo?
Sorry?
Which country are you coaching in at the moment?
No, well, with the pandemic, not coaching. I was working with my father. He's here teaching in San Fernando for the past 3 years. Yeah. And I was engaged with Jamaica with the under-21 program.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been watching. I was on Sunday. I was observing a training session, and I got there at the very beginning, and it was a regional in England, and there were 4 mini games going on, a practice going on, and then there were 7 goalkeepers on the far side of the pitch with 2 coaches. And I wasn't there in an official capacity. I'd taken some of my pupils to training. So I watched, and when the coach came over to talk to me, because he recognized me, I said to him, "What were you doing?" He said, "We were warming up." And I said, "Warming up?" So they were playing and you were warming up. And I said, that's a lost opportunity to coach. It's a skill opportunity. And I would say to all of you, and I've said it already, learn some things that you can do with the goalkeepers. If you've ever played soccer, ever kicked a football, and some of the best people to learn about how do people kick the ball in pads are the goalkeepers, the older goalkeepers. I would get your top goalkeepers in your clubs coaching, but I would also get them coaching small-sided games in your team, and we're going to talk about that in the second half. This is the most basic practice, okay? I don't call it kicking. I call this basic footwork with a kick. The reason I do that is it's the footwork that activates the kick. It's not the kick, then the footwork. And this is something that I think is the simplest. That's why I've shown this. 2 goalkeepers passing the ball, not kicking a ball to each other. They're passing a ball. And like you would with a stick. So take away the stick, put kickers on. Okay? A lot of the practices that you use for transferring the ball, moving the ball with sticks, you can do with goalkeepers. And when we're playing and we're looking for space, I encourage my goalkeepers to pass into space, pass through space to the touchline, pass to the right defender. Okay? If we do that, we put a condition on the movement. And there are so many ways of kicking a ball. Okay, I'm going to call this snack time. This is not where I'm going to go away and grab a snack. This is where I'm going to stop sharing. And then this is where you're going to give me something that you've learnt in the last hour almost. In the last hour or so, what have you learnt so far? Give me one simple thing, and put your hand up or call it out. What have you learnt so far? Let's see if we can do a little summary before we move on to the second part. Anybody? Dave, what have you learnt so far? There we go. Didn't think I was going to call you out. I can see you. Dave, what have you learnt so far?
Not sure just because of the last thing you mentioned, but I really love the concept you talked about, not kicking the ball, but passing the ball. Okay? Just the whole mindset of how you approach a task. it can really change the outcome. So I really love that concept of passing the ball. It really helps them to really think about the process and not about the goal they're actually trying to achieve.
Yeah, you're passing through space. You're passing to a player. Okay, it's the same principle. It's just the pace at which you pass it. Cool. I like that. Jimena, what have you learned? What have you learned? Anything that's new to you? Yeah. We've only got one, I think.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
I think listening of the first part that the goalkeeper is the most important player of the team.
Okay.
So it is very important to have a goalkeeping trainer in the staff.
Yeah. Okay. I think what I'm trying to do is make them not so special to bring them closer to the team. So I don't want to make them as the most important. I want them to be part of that team, but they're probably the one that we need to understand a bit better and do more work with. Natalie, are you there? I haven't seen you since Amsterdam, Natalie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Panda?
I'm very good. What have you picked up in the first part?
Actually, I was going to go exactly the same way you were just going and say goalkeepers are just like one of us.
Yeah. They just look different.
And that I love, exactly. But they're just one of us. We're all the same. We're hockey players out there.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, who else we got? Dimitri, what have you picked up in the first part? You need to put your mic on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I should be fine right now. Yes, I'll go with what Dave said. I think it's important. You kind of reaffirm what because I'm playing and I'm a goalie for 29 years, and especially going to the World Cups, when you passing the ball to the player, communication between your player and the defense team, or who is in front of you, that is very important. And you reaffirm what I always believe, that you don't just kick the ball out. No. You have to know how to work with your defense. You have to know where they will go, what they will do next. And it's the communication. I'm not 100% agree that defenders should tell you what to do, but you must establish communication line and understand what they do in order to work as a team, as a teammate, right? So that is very important. And you reaffirm that. So it's really nice to hear it.
Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, it was a snack time. I'm not going to spend too much time, but it was just like, see what little bits have we picked up so far. And I'm going to move on with your permission, yeah? Cool. Okay, great. Thank you. Right. Here we go. Okay. Einstein. Okay, he said insanity. Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Okay, I'm going to drop back. I could go round every single goalkeeper session in the world and I could see this. Okay? I could see a feed in front of the goal. Goalkeepers kicking, goalkeepers working in front of a goal. Okay? Do you need a goal? Nah, you don't need a goal. You might need a couple of cones. You could put a couple of tracksuit tops down. Okay? You could change the angle of the kick. It could be that we're doing left foot, right foot. It could be that we change the distance, okay? But going back to this point, we have to be creative. We have to think outside the box. As outfield coaches, you will get bored if you do the same thing every time. You'll go insane. When we're working with our goalkeepers, we have to have that little bit of creativity as well. It's no different to everybody else. Right, goalkeepers, extinction or evolution? This is where I'm going to get controversial. I believe goalkeepers are evolving. Someone already mentioned, I didn't mention the stick. Yeah, I feel really bad about that. I should have mentioned the stick. But there's not an asteroid heading for the Earth to wipe out goalkeepers. Goalkeepers are evolving. And you'll see why I say that in a few minutes. Okay, you're the coach. Okay, I'm going to show you a clip, and this could be you as the coach. And I'm going to not spend too much time on it, you talking to me. I'm going to give you a little bit of a debrief of what I see. This is Belgium versus Australia.
Yet again, coming down the right, it's Kavanagh. Simpson. Oh, that's right.
Okay, I'm going to show it again very quickly.
Yet again, coming down the right, it's oh, that's right.
Okay, I want you to look at that as a coach. The key things I want us to look at. We're talking about goalkeepers tonight, or are we? We're talking about team play. We're talking about this part of the presentation is about bringing the goalkeepers into our teams. When I look at that picture, the first thing I'm looking at is the numbers. And in that clip, the attackers were less than the defenders for a long period of time. When you run your practices, how do you think about the numbers in your practices? The player who shot was always going to shoot. Okay, the goalkeeper was in a reasonable position. He made a decision to go with his stick, and then the rebound went in with two players coming in on the far post. How many of you as coaches will ask your goalkeeper a question? And I guarantee that one of the questions you'll ask is, why did you go with your stick? The first question I ask my goalkeeper, the first question I ask my defender, the guy on the hotline, is, what did you see? What did you see when we turned over the ball? What did you see between turning over the ball and the shot? Did you see the overload? Did you see the player go to the near post in front of the goalkeeper? And then I'm expecting the goalkeeper to tell me what they saw. And then the decision to go with their stick, I think they could have gone with their foot and cleared the ball. The stick kept the ball in play. So as far as I'm concerned, that's not a save. That's a block. A save is when the ball goes away and doesn't come back. Okay, I'm going to move on from this because I just wanted to set the scene. Do goalkeepers understand the big picture? This is your coaching board, okay? So this is Dimitri's coaching board. And has Dimitri shared his coaching board with the goalkeepers? The goalkeepers must understand the big picture. They must understand your tactics. They must understand when you go from a 3 to a 4 at the back. The number 11 could be the right defender from a back 4 that's gone forward. Okay? The goalkeeper has to understand that. Are you playing with a hotline? So please share and bring the goalkeeper into your team talks. On a pitch, do you ever go to the goal where the goalkeepers are? Or do you expect the goalkeepers to come to you? Do the goalkeepers come to you? So you've got to start sharing a little bit more. My year tutor when I left school said to me, and I'm going back 42 years, something like that. He said, learn to share, share to learn. You've got to learn to share, and if you don't share, you won't get something back. And I think this is where this is fundamental. Okay, let goalkeepers fly. So when you're designing a practice, this is a 4v3, feed in from the corner. So many different rules you can put on that game. What skills are we using? Well, in this game, maybe split grip play only. We're looking at pushing and pushing at goal, pushing, passing, etc. The game restraints might be 2 touches, 3 touches. The direction of your game, the numbers, the feed, the pitch size, the zones. We could have a square goal scoring zone and a circle scoring zone. How are you going to umpire it? How are you going to score the points? Types of ball and cowbells. You'll see in a minute why I mean cowbells. When you're designing a practice, let the goalkeepers be involved. Give them an objective. So it might be that if we make a save, how are the defenders going to tidy up? Are you going to save clear? Okay, and I'll show you something at the very end that answers that question. But you're designing a practice. Always make sure the goalkeepers have an objective. This is a video, and Natalie was here. I think, I'm not sure. I can't remember now. I think Natalie might have been at this practice. I'm going to play it through for a few minutes. I want you to think about what was it we were working on with the goalkeepers. What do the cowbells mean? Okay, and any other points that you see. What is the skill we're working on with the goalkeeper? What do the cowbells mean? And anything else that you see. I'm going to play it for 2 or 3 minutes. I'm the coach. This is an FIH level 3, level 4 in Amsterdam in August. It's very hot. Okay, what is the skill that I'm practicing with the goalkeepers? What's the goalkeeper skill that I want them to develop and master?
Communication, maybe.
Communication, okay. Always, but not the specific one I was looking at here.
Blocking.
Blocking, good. What kind of blocking? Any ideas?
Frontal with the leggers, stand up, blocking.
Yeah, we were looking at standing up. So very simply, we played a game like this, and then we identified that we wanted to work with the outfield players on scoring with a split grip in chaos, but the goalkeepers to block on their feet. Okay, so we did a little session separate from this, a 1 to 3 standing up, okay, and then we brought them back into the game. I call this game, skill, game. A lot of my sessions with teams, a game, skill, game. Or the technical term I think is whole, part, whole. Okay, the goalkeepers. 2 of them are the boys and girls Dutch under 18 goalkeepers from the Amsterdam club, and the other one is under 16. So they're very good. So really good. The block there, that was their real task, and they did it very well. How did I use the cowbells? Can anyone see? Did anyone see?
Every time you made a sound, the goalkeeper interchanged.
Okay. Yeah. No, not quite. Not quite. They did change. Well, you're kind of right. Yeah. But I'll tell you why in a moment. Yeah. Okay. Very simply, when they scored a goal, the striker would ring the bell. Okay. When the striker rang the bell, it created a 3v2 for the team that just conceded a goal. So the striker was taken out of the game for a split second and then had to jump back. But the goalkeepers had to change. They were under pressure. If they conceded a goal, the goalkeeper had to change in 5 seconds. Okay? Now, these are top young goalies, so I could put them under that pressure. I wouldn't do it with a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old. If they made 3 saves, then they changed. So the more saves you made, you stayed in the game. Okay, so they kind of changed when the bell rang. But also the goalkeeper rang the bell when they made a save. So the goalkeeper had to decide, had the ball gone safe? And then they rang the bell. And there's one instance where the goalkeeper rang the bell too early and the ball went in. This is just an idea of what you can do in the game. I didn't do scoring. It was all about energy, ringing the bells, changing the numbers from 3v3, goal scored, became 3v2, etc. Okay, that's just an idea. Then the next phase, I made the pitch longer. Then I made the pitch wider. And then we had another different context of game. Okay, so all I'm saying here is the goalkeeper had clear objectives. It was a skill that we were practicing within the practice. So, and I was on my own. I know we saw Thomas walking around. There's a few coaches around the pitch because it was an education event, but I was on my own. But I was able to give the goalkeeper something and the outfield. Okay. So putting it into practice, okay, putting it together. I want you to look at this clip, and I want you to look at the person who scores the goal. How long are they standing still? And how many players are in 1/8 of the pitch? So now they're going into 1/8 of the pitch.
It's Yonker again.
I'm going to play it again. See how long the player who scores the goal is in that part, on that penalty spot.
Lurik down to Krekala. Krekala now.
Look at the chaos. Look at the numbers.
Cross cut out. It's still there for the score.
Look at the goalie.
It's Yonker again, is it? Yeah.
She stands there for 13 seconds. And in the last part of that practice, there are 17 players, including the goalkeeper, in the circle. When you run your practices, how many do you have in your circle? Is it nice and pretty? Is there chaos? My concern is the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper could have influenced that. They could have made a difference. They could have communicated to call a defender. They could have marked the player. They should have understood the danger. You as coaches, how many times do you have those kinds of conversations with your goalkeeper? Okay, I'm going to move it on. Here's Laura again. Laura is a goalkeeper. However, something's changed. In the last hour or so, what's changed? What's changed about Laura? Laura probably doesn't even recognize it yet. What's changed? Anyone want to have a go? She was a goalkeeper at the beginning, and now she's changed. Anyone want to have a guess?
I think that's
She's a mother.
Say it again. Not a trick. Okay.
She's a mother.
She's a mother. I can't hear you. Okay, I'm going to tell you. She's now a defender in foam. Do you remember at the beginning I say, do goalkeepers exist? And I talked about evolution. I talked about evolution. This is the evolution. I think that goalkeepers are now defenders in foam. Everything they do is to defend that goal. And their job is huge, and it's part of that defense. And that's where the goalkeeper has changed from a goalkeeper to now a defender in foam. And so much more and new learning has to take place. So, do goalkeepers really exist? That was my question. Okay, we'll come back to the takeaways in a moment, and I'm going to do that in the questions. So, we identified the core skills and attributes of a goalkeeper. We outlined the basic principles and fundamentals of goalkeeping. We spent some time on that. Discussed and explored some practice sessions to enhance the goalkeepers in the team. And then we've confirmed that goalkeepers do exist, or do they? I like to think of them now as defenders in foam. And here's one last video. What planet do goalkeepers come from? And this is, and I'll give you a story behind this video.
We've got you coming here. Now, bizarrely, I think there's a rule that says you are not allowed to deliberately head it. And you watch, head it. That's absolutely spot on deliberate. Stop the ball going in the back of the net, but penalising a goal.
Okay, that was deliberate. And when I was working with the FAH, and Laura and I talked about this at the very beginning when we started the course, I wanted to use this video. The goalkeeper, Kumar, came onto the course as a coach, and he didn't know I was using this video. And when he made that save, I asked him, watch this now.
Keeper for saving it like that, I think.
He looked like he was going to use his hand. And I said, why didn't you use your hand? Between the Spanish player on the left and the Malaysian, on the edge of the circle is a Spanish player. He decided he wanted to keep the ball close to the defender to clear it. So he went with his hand and changed his mind.
Exceedingly harsh. He can't get his
And the
left hand
defender
there. Uses the only. We've got you coming here. Now, bizarrely, I think there's a
So he-
rule that
he
says you are not
actually-
allowed to deliberately head it. And you watch, head it. That's
he actually passes it with his head to his defender to clear it. That's because the goalkeeper has spoken to the defence. Anytime the ball is near me like that, it's your ball. And we do it for penalty corners. We do it for outfield. It's the responsibility of the coach, not the goalie coach, to create environments where that can take place.
absolutely spot.
Thank you. And over and out. And I'm going to come out of the slides. And I think, Laura, we've got a few top minutes for some questions or discussion. I'd like to know what you're going to take away from this session, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I think we have some time.
Yes, of course, you have time.
Is that okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions or want to share anything that they're going to take away to the next session?
I have to comment.
Yep.
At,
Okay, please.
at the beginning of the session, when you said that I in my day, many years ago, I played centre forward, and I was never given blame for anything. I could go to a game, I can do what I like, when I like, how I like. However, the goalkeeper, one mistake, and the goalkeeper was pulled over the coals.
Yeah.
So I always thought that goalkeepers can't make errors. That aspect where the keeper uses his head to pass the ball to his teammate instead of blocking the pass with his blocking the shot, with his glove to go to one of the opponents. That kind of sold me.
Yeah.
That's.
And I think that just shows that they have to be part of the team. Yeah. They have to be part of that defensive unit. They have to be involved in the discussions. And we can see many things exactly I think Dimitri was saying earlier about passing the ball with a kick. We can create attacks with our gloves, with our kickers. I've seen it. I've seen corner rebounds go out to a player on the 23-meter, 2 passes, and it's in the other end from a goalkeeper save, because the goalkeepers played the ball into a position, not just saved it, they've controlled it, and they've done that. Yeah. Okay, anything else? Dimitri, put your mic on. Yeah.
Panda, I want to make a comment. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Chichi. Yeah.
I will try to do a very little analysis. What happened with the coaches, right?
Yeah.
What happened with the coaches? We were talking around the world, 20 years, talking about the involve and integrate the goalkeeper in training.
Yeah.
No result at all.
No.
Even worse. Coaches are not interested. They are not interested in teaching goalies. And the biggest problem is we coaches evaluate the result of the game, but we are not evaluating how we teach the goalkeeper. As a consequence of that, then evaluate the result. But first of all, you have to train, you have to integrate the goalkeeper, then you will be able to evaluate the performance of the goalkeeper, but not before, because you didn't teach at all.
Yeah. I think, Chiche, on that, I've seen too many situations where the decision-making of the goalkeeper is behind the decision-making of the striker, because the striker's been given opportunities to practice. The goalkeeper needs to be engaging with their peer groups to develop at the same pace. I actually believe there are too many goals scored, that goalkeepers could save more goals.
Of course.
I really believe that. It's not a big goal. I sound really brutal when I say that, but I think there's too many goals at all levels scored that could be stopped. And I get very frustrated.
Yeah, but it's really strange, because it's a crazy it's a crazy idea. I don't understand why, because we really understand perfectly the influence of the goalie in the result of the game, especially in the women's side.
Yes.
And we don't teach the goalie at all. That's incredible, really. Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I'm very frustrated about it, and it's something that and this is why I also think it's the integration, and that's why this term, I've defended in foam, is a chance to bring it closer, because they can if they understand the game better, they would be better goalkeepers, but add more value to the team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, two more comments.
Okay.
First of all, I love the topic. I love goalkeeper. I love teaching goalies as well, right?
Yeah.
Because I recognize the importance of the goalie in the game, in the result of the game. And one thing is, when I was coaching the national team, when we score a goal, the two of the backs have to celebrate with the goalie as a compulsory instruction, not with the center forward.
Yeah.
And maybe it could be one of the defender, but it's crazy that 10 players go to celebrate with the center forward, and the goalie alone in the cage say, where are my fellows? Where are my team?
Yeah.
Where is my team? This is really it's funny, but it's true.
Yeah. I totally agree. Okay.
And the other thing is, maybe it's a question. I don't want an answer really, but if the coaches or the participants have to make an answer, that's thank you very much, no problem. But maybe the coaches never have the possibility, or they didn't find the possibility to talk with the goalie about hockey. Surely, I surely you will learn a lot of things because they have a very different point of view. And we have different point of view. We are in a much better condition to analyze the situation. If we have only our point of view, but we have the chance to talk with the goalie, we have a different point of view comparing with the field players. But I strongly recommend takes time, talk with the goalie, have a breakfast with the goalie, have a lunch with the goalie, and talk about hockey. And you will find a very, very interesting answer and question as well.
I love that. I love that idea. I quite often now have a coffee online with coaches as a result of the COVID, but I want to keep it going. I'd always open up 20 minutes coffee with me online for a chat. It's important. Natalie, you had your hand up. Yeah.
Yeah. In response to one of Cheche's last comments, two of the best goalkeepers I remember from our country, one male and one female, played fantastic center midfielders as when they take off their pads. And that was their understanding of the game. But the other thing that I will take away, well, for me, is that the way you talked about, I think when we try to train goalkeepers, I agree with you, we try to train them based on what they see on YouTube. So we forget, when we train our team and we do our periodization for them, we have a plan. We know that if we don't progress from this, we can't get to this, and we can't get to this. And for me, I think we need to spend more time in that side, developing the goalkeeper training. And with our group, where with the full team, we evaluate easier because we have practice matches. But evaluation for the goalkeepers, as in, how do I progress from this milestone phase onto the next one? Has he even reached the end of the milestone? And we need to do that as well. So the periodization for the goalkeeper now needs to be as detailed as for the rest of the group.
Definitely. And I believe it needs to go along, not just as an individual, but if you've got defensive group targets, the goalkeeper needs to be involved in that as well.
And some of that needs to fit into his periodization. It's not just when we do defensive build-up. He should be part of that. When we do defending on the right side or defending on the left side, he is. You know, I agree with you 100.
Sebastian, you've got your hand up. I'll come to you as well, Dimitri. You've got your hand up as well. Sebastian, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Well, it was a super meeting. I am really happy that you cover all those topics. And one of the things that Chicha said that maybe coaches do not talk with goalies. I believe that. I'm sorry. Sorry for the noise. I believe that usually coaches they argue that they do not know about goalie things, and this is the responsibility of the old goalies to talk about this, to bring it into the table and push those thoughts to really show that we are in the field and we can correct and talk during the game to save many goals, as you really well said.
I tell you, Grahame, it's not a dark art. It's not a dark art. There's not a mystery. You know, there's not Merlin, the magic wizard, who's going to teach everybody to be goalies. It's something that people can learn gradually and develop into their actual toolkit. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Sebastian. Dimitri, you got your hand up there? Yeah.
Yes, I got a technical question. When I watch the video, you know, that mini game, Netherlands goalies, two young goalies, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that both of the goalies are touching the post. So I need to know your opinion on that, because different coaches are thinking differently. Okay, they think maybe goalie should fill the post with the back. do they have to touch it? In your opinion, do they have to introduce that skill?
Yeah.
And why? Or
I think this is something that develops. As a young goalkeeper, I think it's finding out. It depends where you are in the world as well. It depends. I've always felt that Dutch goalkeepers play a little bit closer to their line, and they look at stopping the ball and it's tidied up, and that goes back traditionally to kit without rebound. They much, you mean stand closer to their cage. They want to be touching their post and judge their position. Yeah?
Yes, that's what I meant.
In a small-sided game, often the pitch you set up is not like an 11-a-side. In an 11-a-side game, I look at things like what are the things that you can use for your angles. If it's your home pitch, it could be floodlights. It could be the markings on the pitch are the same all over the world. These kind of things. In the 11-a-side game, I think you'll see it less. I think you'll see it less until the game compacts.
You believe it's okay because it's a smaller. Because to me, as a goalie, I always look at the post in front of me on the other side of the pitch.
Yeah. Small-sided games are very different. They're chaos, and I think it's a comfort. But it's a very good point. And if you think it affects their play, discuss it. I would say discuss it with them. Okay. I'm quite keen to know a little bit about what you've taken away. If you've got 2 minutes to put something in chat of what you're going to take away. Chiche and Laura, I've really enjoyed that. That's been good for me. That I tried some different things tonight. I didn't go back to the Menti, but I think I got my responses for that during the conversation. I'll have to work on that one, how to use it with Blue Jeans. But I'm really grateful that you gave me the opportunity to listen. I thought your questions were fantastic, and any feedback would be greatly appreciated.
We really appreciate your, like, in the middle of the night coming to us and deliver the webinar. So thank you very, very much.
No, that was the easy part. The easy part was staying awake. That was easy, yeah.
Well,
I won't sleep now for hours because I'll be buzzing, but that's but no, that's really good.
Well, I put a link for a feedback, so I will send you the feedback later.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you know where I live, and I'm happy to have a coffee with people anytime you want and have a chat. So don't be strangers, yeah? Thank you.
Panda, thank you. Yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Chiche, if you want to close the session.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for mainly Panda for running this seminar, and also thank you very much for the participants, all from Pan American Hockey Federation. I think if we take some of this information in this webinar, it's very interesting webinar, but also in the other webinars that we are running, and if we are able to transfer all this information to the pitch, our hockey will improve definitely. But we never forget, we are working for the product. The product is the game, and we are working for the product.
Yeah.
We have to produce a much better product, and this is one of the possibilities that we have in our continent and in Europe and everywhere around the world. We have to use the information and transfer to the pitch immediately if we are able to do it. Thank you very much and follow you. Gracias Laura por tu organización.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you Laura del Col for being here. I know that you have your commitment as mother now and it's late, so thank you very much for being with us as well. Thank you to you all for sharing with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.